let's say if I'm working till 12 at night, and if I was online on my WhatsApp, I would put an alarm for like let's say 5 a.m. or 5:30, just so that I can switch my last scene on, and my last scene is of the morning rather than night.
Oh my God.
Like just 2 days back, I hid my last scene because I wanted to ignore this person who was continuously texting me. So I had to do it. But then in the evening, my dad was like, "Ki, you can hit your last scene. And if you keep doing that, this is the last time I'm telling you, I'll take your phone away and you would never use your phone again and this and that, and I know that you were online till late at night." And I'm like, dude, I don't really need only WhatsApp to be online.
इतना लेट नहीं चलेगा.
30 and unmarried.
Oh, backless talk.
अपन नहीं मानेंगे.
क्यों नहीं चाहिए बच्चे?
लोग क्या कहेंगे? सोलो ट्रिप हस्बैंड के साथ जाना.
What do I do? Arey, just be. Not allowed.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Not Aloud podcast. This is a space where we talk about all things not allowed by the patriarchal society, but we do it anyway, secretly. I'm your host A, just living the same secretive life like many out there, and in solidarity, I'm just gonna go by A. So let's get started.
Today on the show, I have with me two guests, producer Muskaan.
Hi, I'm Muskaan, and I'm not allowed to live my life on my own terms.
And social impact consultant Sulekha.
Hi, I'm Sulekha, and I'm not allowed to be my most authentic self.
Welcome. Thank you so much for coming to the show.
Hi.
Thank you, A, for inviting us.
Sulekha, first, I'd just like to know, what is a social impact consultant? I mean, I'm sure a lot of people would have that question.
A social impact consultant primarily works on social issues, social impact related issues. My work is primarily in the field of impact assessment. So assessing the impact of a project, monitoring and evaluating a project that is ongoing.
Okay, so projects which impact socially. And Muskaan, like as a producer, you have mostly worked with, I'm assuming, in the entertainment industry.
Yes, I have mostly worked for movies. I've always been passionate about working for films. So yeah, like we have done quite a lot of films. And so right now I'm not really a producer, but I have assisted a lot of them. And I aspire to be one someday. So yeah, let's see.
Oh, sure. We all have our journeys. Muskaan, now let's come to your story. Please tell us what happened like some time ago when you were working in Mumbai.
So basically, I was staying there alone in a flat, sharing flat with some few girls. So honestly, my life is just work and then coming home and watching some Netflix and sleeping. That's it. That was what I was doing. But my parents were never trustworthy enough. So I don't know why, but they planned to hire a PI, and I had no clue about it. And they are totally against me hanging out with any guys, like be it friends, be it even cousins.
Okay, even
So
cousins. Okay, that's also.
yeah. So while the PI was there, when I was hanging out with this friend of mine, so we were coming back from the office to my place. So the PI saw it and he sent the photos and videos. And on the same day, my dad and my brother came to the city and packed my stuff up. So basically, it was a pack up, and they brought me back.
I can only imagine what someone can feel going through something like that. What happened like when you went back home?
So there was a bit of a drama there. Like they did not say it straight on my face, but I always knew what they meant. So I used to stay, the place where I used to stay, it was basically a Muslim population,
Okay, in Mumbai.
most of them. Yeah. So obviously, like my parents are against the whole community. So when they got to know about it, they were furious about that. Plus, they were like, you were not really there for work. You were just hanging out with guys. You were just hanging out with Muslim people. And I'm like, how do you like? How do you come to this conclusion?
So when they had the investigator, he only watched you around your house. He never came to your work or any other place as such.
No, he did. So he was right outside my office the whole day, like for 2 days, and I had no clue about it. So on the second day, while I was leaving from the office with this friend of mine, he saw me and then he sent these photographs and the videos. So yeah, like that was it. Like he obviously saw me around the house. Like he legit sent them what the conversations I was having on my
Oh my
phone while
God.
walking down the street.
He was that close that he could hear your
Yeah,
conversations, and you absolutely could not figure that someone is constantly keeping a watch on you.
no.
I mean, it's,
So like
yeah.
Bombay being overpopulated, like you don't really see like
Yeah,
in a
yeah.
crowd like if anybody's around you recording you or something.
How long has it been since this happened?
4 months now.
Okay, and there is no like, have they reconsidered their decision, or what is happening?
Not at all. Like we had this conversation just 2 days back, and they were really, really against the whole thing. And they were like, you have a great life here. Okay, why do you need to work? Anyway, we in our families, we don't allow girls to work. So we don't see any point of you earning any money. So it's better that you just stay here, stay at home and chill and do whatever you want and just not go out. And I'm like, do you see how fucked up I am right now? That's not the life I really want.
Yeah, I mean, I think for families, a lot of I think Sulekha also kind of relates to this. She was also telling me how it's been difficult with making her family understand that she wants to also work and do things, and she's also had a lot of problems, and they also have the same ideology of why do you even need to work when everything is fine. So, Lekha, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, first of all, Muskan, I'm so sorry this happened. But yeah, I mean, for me also, it hasn't been very explicit, like explicitly my parents asking me not to work or, something along those lines. But I think something very implicit has always been there. It was always implied that I don't have to do a lot of work to earn money because, they used to tell me that we have enough of it. Why do you want to get into a job where you need to work so much or you need to work in the settings that I work in? Being a social impact consultant
Hmm.
or
Hmm.
being in the social impact space in general, I have worked in places, been in places where most privileged people, like, they don't go and see such settings or see such
Yeah.
situations. So for my
Hmm.
parents also, it was like, why do you want to do something like that? Why do you want to be in this space? It was so hard for me. I remember even as a kid, when I used to explain it to them, it used to be really hard. So yeah, it has just been very hard for me also. But I think generally, again, as I said, it has been very implicit for me, and I think I've always fought for it. So they're also like, okay, there's nothing that we can do about it. So they just, in the end, I think, give in. But that brings a lot of sort of mental turmoil, and it really hinders my productivity, everything, basically, my work. I can perform, I know I can perform much better, but I'm not able to because of a lot of, like, fears that I have surrounding all of
Hmm.
these things.
Well, how was it to first even sort of enter into this field? From being said that you can't work to finally getting into a place where, I mean, both your careers are in a field where there's a lot of, it's time consuming, you have to be far away from home, and many such things which might not be okay with uh, parents who are this strict. So, Muskan, how did that conversation even start as you wanted to be a producer?
Um, so honestly, my parents never wanted me to
Hmm.
move to Bombay in the first place. So I did not have any option. I told them that, I wanted to do this graphic designing course. So let me go just for a year and I'll just do the graphic designing course and I'll come back. Though I was never interested in that
Okay.
course. It was just an excuse for me. So when I went there, so I had applied for this great internship in a film production house. So the day I went there, I got a call from them and they were like, okay, like, come down for an interview and we'll see how it goes. And I was selected then. So I told my parents that, listen, I have this graphic designing class till 12, and after that I can work till, 6. And they were like, okay, 6 is your deadline. You'll have to come back to your place by 6
Oh.
and video call us. And luckily, I was lucky enough that I used to get home by 6 because we would leave by 5:30 from the office. So luckily that was the time. So I would call my parents and, they'll be like, okay. So they were, for them, it was just an internship that I was doing along with graphic designing course, just a side gig. And then eventually I got into this, like after the internship was done, I got into this amazing production house. And so for that, for the project with them, I had to travel to places. And when I asked my parents for the permission, they were not agreeing for it. So I had to convince them really hard. And then, like, somehow they got convinced just because I had a female
Okay, yeah.
boss.
That also sometimes, like if your teammates, your managers and all are women as well, sometimes. I remember when I had joined college after everything that I spoke of, one of my professors was from my society. And that's the only reason why my parents even let me be there and go on college, like official industrial visits. I mean, the chances of that happening were uh, crazy, but that happened, and that was the reason why something like that was even allowed for me.
Yeah, but then they were never really supportive of the whole thing. They were like, okay, this is just for the time being. You are getting to do this, but don't think that, you're gonna do it forever or anything like that. But I was like, okay, matlab, if I have come till here, obviously
Yeah.
I'm not gonna give up. So I kept working my way, and when they also see you working hard, like since like they were not really supportive, but when they saw me working, I don't know, that somehow kind of built that trust in
Hmm.
my work. But then again, they had their own restrictions. Like they would call me before I would leave for the work, like video call me while I was at the work, while coming back from work. Where are you? What are you doing? And all those things. And like obviously, they were never supportive of the film industry because
Yeah.
there's a taboo around the film industry. So they were really like never really supportive of it. They asked me to not tell any of the family members that I was working in Bombay. For all my family members, it was like I was doing a certain course in Bombay.
There is a scenario where a lot of people dream about being in Mumbai, be it any sector, any field, and also for that to be the film industry. And here it is just presented as something which is so bad that you can't even tell anyone about it. It's almost shameful to admit that you are associated to something which is the dream of so many people. It kind of boggles my mind. I mean, I myself understand that being also the industry.
So there was this instance where I
Hmm.
uploaded a picture with few film stars,
Oh.
male film stars, and my dad legit called me up and shouted at me that I'll bring you home if you would put any certain picture. And that was a very senior actor I had posted the picture with. But the reaction of that was so harsh that I cried for straight 2 hours and I was like, fuck, I just want to give
I
up
mean,
right
I know
now.
parents who would jump and share that picture with every last person on their WhatsApp, bragging about their children working with all stars in the industry. But yeah, I mean, that's what this is. Sulekha,
Imagine.
how was it for you to get started? Was it your decision to get into this? And how did this go about with your family from not being allowed to work to finally getting here?
So, it wasn't like I wasn't allowed to work. They always presented it as, कि मत करो काम तो कोई problem नहीं होगी, काम करना ही क्यों है. I remember my grandfather sometimes used to say कि why are you studying like away from home at all, just come back, study, take admission in this college near our house and just like study for 3 years and then get married and be happy. I remember he used to say that a lot to me. So they had this kind of ideology, not my parents as such. So the idea was never to like stop me from working, but the idea was to make me work in a field where I'll be able to make enough money or a lot of money. So the whole idea of working in the social impact space was so new to them, because everyone in my family has a business. Nobody understands this kind of space at all. Nobody has worked in this space. Nobody has studied a lot. So for them, it's like if you want to make money, you have to be in the business. So it was very hard for me to even like bring it up to them that, this is the work that I want to do. But they obviously, since school, I was interested in this space. So they saw me do it. So again, as I think Muskaan said, what really helped me was them seeing me work. But I think I graduated in 2020, and post that it was COVID period. So the 2 years were really difficult for me because I was away from home for 3 years. Then I had to come back forcefully. I had no plans of coming back. I had plans to stay where I was and to work there. And I know I would have made it work. And I got opportunities also, amazing opportunities, which I couldn't take because of COVID, because they wanted me to be there during COVID. My parents, it was understandable on their part also that during peak COVID, how can they expect me to come with a low pay? Situation at home also wasn't the best. So it was like a whole thing. But the point is that during those 2 years, it almost felt like whatever progress I had made in terms of setting my boundaries, like multiple other things, it all came crashing down for me again, because I was in the same space and I was going through those same issues. And I think COVID was such a terrible time for me like that. It brought me back. I couldn't work for a very long period of time. I couldn't even apply for jobs. And I remember going for therapy, taking therapy. That was literally the only thing, of course, along with like my friends being there, that helped me. So yeah, I think it was very difficult for me to even convince my parents that this work is legit, that this work is also work. This is not some random work that I'm doing for fun. This is actual work that people value. I think that has been the most difficult thing for me. And till date, it's now that I'm working in a good company with a good brand name, and that they see me work, that they're like, okay, fine. And also, of course, I've held my ground.
So now they are okay with you in case you want to move to like different cities. I mean, I don't. I think you said that you are still home.
I am at home right now. Yeah.
Yeah. If you just decide to move now, has that come to a situation where they would like understand and just like let you go again?
First, I moved to give interviews. Initially, I had moved for a week only just to give interviews. I had a lot of interviews lined up. They were all in person mostly. So I moved for that. But then when I said that, I want to stay here for another week and give more interviews staying here only, because I was staying with my friends at that time. So they were not at all okay with that idea. So my father was like, no, if you stay there for another week, I am not sending money to you. You have to come back. I was like, I can't let this happen. I ended up staying for another week. I gave, my interviews or whatever. And then I had to come back because I didn't get anything at that time. When I came back home, I got an opportunity. And I was like, because you didn't let me go during COVID, you have to let me go now. There is no other way. And right before that, my parents had given me like a long lecture about how I'm wasting my time, wasting my life. And nothing is going to happen. They're going to get me married by I'm 25. They're going to start looking for boys. And there's, I have to go for my master's. I have to go for my master's straight away. And then I can't wait. And all of these things, basically, but when I got this opportunity, I was like, I am leaving. I have to leave. And luckily, I had a place, where I was moving. I had friends there who were very supportive. So I already had a place. So like looking for a place wasn't an issue for me. So I just went and I stayed. And of course, my parents always used to ask me to come back. And they were like, and then when I finally got this job, I took the job before telling it to them. I was making my own decisions. I wasn't asking. I was just telling them. Whether they were okay with it or not was another thing. I was like, I'm just going to do it and I'll tell them. There was a lot of fear that was stopping me also, I have realized. this fear of, making the wrong decisions, multiple other things. But I have realized that what is the worst that can happen? That they're going to bring me back to my room and lock me inside my room. That's how my mind used to work. And I was like, yeah, it's fine. Even if they do that, I have to do this for myself. I mean, of course, luckily for me, it didn't happen, and I don't think my parents will do it also. But even that sort of like this idea also came to my head multiple times. I was like, what is the worst that can happen? Even if that happens, I'll survive. So I have to, take a chance for myself.
Yeah, I mean, see, that's what with both the situations, your parents mostly were trying to see if smaller things itself gets you to just, come back or do as they say. First, it was like, okay, we won't give you money. Next, we're like, no, now you do as we say, otherwise shadi kara denge, or you have to go for masters where we say, or how we, but then you kept holding your ground and that has worked for you. Like on the other side with Muskaan, she also tried to do her best and she was like, whatever happens, I'll just handle. But there are also extreme situations where parents just take drastic measures and you can't avoid that. And now she's trying to figure how to navigate through this. So yeah, to understand where and what kind of privilege you have as a family as to what do you think can be your limit, and to first safeguard yourself, to understand that okay, also need to find my way in life, my freedom, but to be a little smart about that, to understand where you are and what would be the best way. Would you just being a rebel and being crazy about it and just do what you are, not caring about anything, that might work for some people but not really for most of us. I mean, I don't think if you, me, or Muskaan, any of us had just said, you know what, I'm just doing it, and we just left the house and just had no connection, no contacts, I don't think that would have worked.
Yeah, it's really not possible. Yeah, I mean, I just want to add to it. Like, it's very easy to imagine a life where you have cut off your parents, where you think that you can cut them off and you can make your life like that. It's a very fantasy, like it's like a fantasy world that you want to live in, thinking that, oh, this might work out. But in reality, it's not always possible. You have to sometimes take 2 steps forward, 3 steps forward, and 2 steps back also.
Yeah.
To actually understand where you're coming from, what it is that you can do to make it work for yourself. Because
to the best of, like, to the best scenario of the future, not just that okay, abhi I just ran away and I have just come out of it, but now what after that?
More often than not, it can really backfire for you. You don't have contacts. There's this fear that you will be on your own. It's not easy to imagine a life without your primary caregivers, without people whom you have been around your entire life. So, it's not easy. So it's always sort of, it's always better to, think of the longer run. But having said that, I also understand when you're in that situation, it's really difficult to imagine.
And somewhere, I do think that it also is a product of how much threshold of each person is, that sometimes you feel I have just taken so much that I cannot go ahead like this anymore. That also plays a role in as to, do I just risk it all and just run away or do whatever with it? But I think that's also a lot of expectation that comes from, I think if I talk about this with my friends or anyone else, the most common response that I get is, why can't you just leave? Why can't you just figure something for yourself and just go away? But a lot of people refuse to understand that there can be extreme consequences to what has happened with Muskaan. And there is, I mean, not to scare anyone, but there can be worse things as well. Apart from just being dragged home, there can be much, much worse things that can happen to people, that has happened to people. So you really need to understand the kind of consequences also that you might have to face, and prioritize your safety, and like physically, mentally. Of course, everything that you go through also has an effect on your mind, and to tackle that in a longer run also is not easy at all. So yeah, I mean, I hope through this a lot of people understand that if you are in a situation like this, if you want to leave and you think this is the right time for you to leave, weigh in your options, understand what works best for you. If you think waiting it out a bit, planning it out a little more cleverly is what would in the long run work better, please try to figure that. If you have trustworthy people that you think can help you, be careful of that as well, because you never know who is, just trying to be friendly and actually just, not on
Correct.
your side.
Yeah, I think it's very important to have a foolproof, proper plan. Even if I'm back at home right now, I am back at home by my choice. And, I'm happy being back at home right now because I feel like there are things that I can work on with my parents. But there are, with certain people, it's just not mendable. But again, in that case, as you said, you really need to have a proper plan. You need to weigh in your options. You need to understand, like, you need to have a solid plan. You can't just like, in the heat of the moment, like take a decision and just move out. And of course there are always, I think this podcast is one such space. You can reach out to us, and we're always there obviously to discuss something like this. You can reach out to people around you for help. Of course, you always have to understand that you have to build that sort of trust, and you have to understand if you can actually and trust those people also. But yeah, I mean, it's always important to have a solid plan, have good connections to be able to
Yeah, even
like.
for people who don't go through anything like this, they have never faced anything like that. I think it's very important for them also to realize that such situations exist.
Yeah,
Yeah, I've also gotten a lot of that. Oh, you're like, this girl just exaggerates all the time. Or it must not be
yeah.
this bad. She just like it's all in her head. It's not like this. ऐसा थोड़ी होता है. No, no, no. This is all.
So this friend of mine I was caught with, so he used to say this to me all the time whenever I would tell him that how extreme my
Hmm.
parents can be and how strict they were. And they used to be like, okay, listen, they can be strict, but they cannot be this extreme. And I would tell him that no, you have no idea how extreme they can be. And when this day came, and he was like, dude, you were right about
If
everything.
someone's telling you that things are not that okay, I mean they have lived in that situation. They have gone through it for maybe like just grown up all their life with that. So someone is telling you something like this, especially that's what in a country like ours, in cultures like ours, and not just India, but even in South Asian cultures, this thought is very prevalent that a child's life is not really theirs. The parents, the society, the family has quite
Correct.
a lot of say and control in what happens, especially if you're a woman. So for
Exactly,
people
exactly.
who have not seen that, they think, oh yes, most of the time just happens in movies or shows. Yeah, I've lost friendships. I It also affects your relationship. I feel if uh, you have one, and if you are all the time trying to figure out a lot of things, it might cause friction there as well. In professional settings, it's not necessary that your company, your managers, your colleagues will understand the kind of limitations you have at home, and they might also feel that maybe you're making excuses in order to not work.
This is so important to understand, honestly, that these restrictions at home can really hinder your work. It has a huge
Yeah.
impact. Yeah.
And especially with the kind of work culture that is happening these days, that everyone, a lot of companies just expects employees to just keep hustling. It's okay if you get late, you have to work on weekends. It's unrealistic expectations, which are anyway not healthy, irrespective of how your family life is and what you're dealing with. In itself, that's unhealthy, but also not doable for a lot of people. I know that when I had started working, I'm in the media industry, so a lot of things would happen. It would be late. I had events. Sometimes I had to work on weekends, and all of that was just not okay. Even when I tried to move, I was brought back. So when I'm thankful that way, that most of the people that I worked with did understand to some extent that I was not bluffing or just making things up in order to escape responsibilities like that. But that can also happen. And especially if you're in a place where there is so much of competition, they would rather go with someone who is able to give like their 1,000%, even though that is not realistic and that's some kind of exploitation. But you can most of the time just lose out on opportunities just because of the reality of your situation, and not having someone understand and recognize the situation you're in, I think also keeps a lot of people away from the workforce. see, for us, maybe like we're still managing somehow, but there are so many people out there who just say like, okay, if that means I just can't work, then I just won't work. That also it adds to the fact that okay, women cannot be in the workforce. They are forced to just be at home and be the caregivers at home. Even if they do want to work, the company is not okay. The family wants 10,000 restrictions into which no job is fitting. So ultimately, it's the woman who loses in the end of all this. So yeah, I think it's not just people who are going through this, but also everyone else need to understand that such things exist in the society, and as a collective, we need to at least first acknowledge the existence and then try to figure something about it. So now coming a bit to the other common points between us. The time when Sulekha told me that she has the exact same thought, I have kind of burst out laughing because hearing that from someone else sounds ridiculous, but I 100% resonate. How do you go about that now, Sulekha? I'm sure you still have more to add to that. Is that thought still like prevalent in your head?
Yeah, very much so. It is. But it's just that I remember when I was staying away from home, every time I used to go out, I was like, like the one thing that always came to my head was what I'm wearing today is not appropriate with respect to like how my parents would want me to dress, specifically my father. I was always like, this is not appropriate. So if something ends up happening to me, and then they have to come and pick me up from the place of
Yeah.
the accident or whatever, it's not going to be good. This used to be a big fear for me. I think this fear by the day is going down, and this has also really affected just generally the way they have talked to me about my clothes, the way they have like sort of reprimanded me, specifically my father, for wearing certain clothes. So again, on my birthday, I was supposed to go to the mandir with my family, and I was wearing this woolen dress, fully covered. I was fully covered, but my father was like, "No, you cannot wear a dress."
It was a dress, as in what they'd call.
It was a woolen dress. It was a woolen dress, like fully covered. It was just like I was wearing stockings with it,
Oh, okay.
so like it was a dress like that. So like till my knees. So my mom didn't have any problem with it. Nobody in my family had any problem with it. But he just saw it and he was like, "How can you wear this and go to the temple?" And I was like, "I'm fully covered. What's your problem with it?" I mean, first of all, I don't get this idea of like being covered while going to like certain places, but I am no one to comment on it because I know different religions have different whatever. So
Yeah.
I'm no one to comment on it. But yeah, again, so coming back to this, the point is that I was fully covered, but there was this whole thing where he asked me to change my clothes again, and I was like, I will not change. This is not okay. And at that moment, it was my birthday. So I was so disheartened that I am like taking out this time to get ready, whatever. I'm so happy that I'm wearing this thing, but my mood suddenly changes because of this entire incident that has happened. And of course, when a fight happens, both parties end up saying like very mean things to each other to specifically hurt the other person. And of course, if there is a power dynamic, which there
Yeah.
is, the person with the power will obviously end up saying more or can say more hurtful things in certain situations, right? So, I mean, I just came back to my room and I was like, I'm not even going to the temple. It's fine. I don't want to go. Then my mom came to my room and she was like, it's fine. He can say sometimes, such things because don't you understand the kind of things he does for you? There's always this thing where my mom will come in and try to tell me that, you look at the brighter side. Look at the things that he does for you. And it's fine. You can listen and you can change. Itta kya hi ho gaya?
That's
And stuff like that.
classic.
But
Yeah.
so classic, but
Yeah.
my birthday has been ruined. This has happened in the morning, and my birthday has already been ruined now. The entire day, my mood was terrible, and I was like, "How is this okay?" It's just so disheartening, so not okay again. So all of this has obviously led me to think that I can't wear certain clothes, that I have to constantly wear clothes that will that my father will be okay seeing me wear, basically. And that has really influenced my dressing sense and
Even
all
the
that.
way when you
Once I moved away
shop,
from home,
that
yeah,
uh,
yeah,
like if you when
exactly.
you're
And
going
once I,
around to buy something, even if you're just online shopping, you're just figuring, Are, what is the point of even buying, you know, if I can never wear this, or if I have to wear this, then I have to only find certain situations, like with my friends or just when I am not home. That means most of the time this is just going to be lying in the cupboard, and that's just uh, not. Why would I even then spend so much? So I really understand. I mean, I also have gone through many incidents like that. But one that really comes to my head was when I was about 7 or anything as such, and we had some puja in the building that we used to have every year. And yeah, all of us have worn traditional. It's May, and this is like the peak of summer. Everyone is just sweating, and it's crazy. Like the sun is burning, and we still wore those very heavy traditional clothes. It's okay, fine, got done with it. And after the puja, we used to have this kind of lunch for everyone in the building. And all of us, like all the kids, have changed into like much more comfortable clothes, like uh, just slacks and t-shirts and all, just so that okay, now that when you sit down to eat, it's much more comfortable, and also you don't spill things on those expensive clothes. So it's a very logical thing to do. So I also went ahead and did the same, and I came down. I remember my dad just taking my hand and dragging me up home. He has thrashed me onto the floor, saying, "How dare I change into such clothes and come down wearing these things for such an event?" But it was not that I was, first of all, as a 7-year-old kid, I mean, if I was wearing the most stupidest clothes, it shouldn't have mattered in the first place. But I still have endured wearing like those heavy, heavy lehengas and everything in for that weather. It's just logical that we just sat down to have lunch, and in order to be more comfortable and not spoil our clothes is where we were coming from. But no, that was just not something that made sense to him. I just remember my head banging against the wall and the floor, and me shouting and crying. And I think at that time, my neighbor or someone heard those things, but then nobody did anything about it, because this is a pretty common thing known. I don't know for how long has he bashed me like that. I just remember crying and screaming, and later he made me wear something appropriate, and he dragged me down again. By then, most of the people had already finished eating. That included all of my friends. So now, as some kind of punishment, I was made to sit alone and just given this plate, and like the whole building is like everyone in the society is just looking at me like, I don't know, like I'm some kind of criminal who did something wrong, and as like a punishment, I have to just sit alone and eat, like as a 7-year-old or something. And that memory is still like so etched in my head that I really did nothing wrong. And that's what I was coming to the point of. You at least had that kind of a space and some privilege, that even if you spoke about it with your dad, he would get mad, he would get angry, which I'm sure is not easy to deal with. That itself causing some kind of friction is like, I don't want this kind of an atmosphere. But a lot of people don't get that as well. If you have a space where you can talk to your family and have conversations which don't end up in extremes, that's great. Like you have that
Yeah,
power.
I mean,
Yeah.
this is so scary to hear, because that's exactly what was going on in my head. That यहाँ पे extreme means that, like physical violence. Like genuinely, because I have never had this experience, luckily, fortunately, that for me, extremes mean shouting at each other, and that saying very mean and bad things to each other. But so, I mean, of course, I feel lucky and privileged like that. But this is so, so sad that it, first of all, it has to go to that extreme in the first place for other people. And that, you don't even have that space where you can discuss and have that conversation. This is just so scary. And as a child, especially, I can't even imagine what it must have been like.
Those things form as very like big negative core memories in your head. See that the way he made me feel that day, after that I always have been very, very careful of what I wear, where I wear, how I come across. Even if I'm wearing something outside, when I'm coming back home, am I appropriate enough? Like all these mental things in your head, just so that such things never get repeated. So yeah, it's a very, very big task. That way, see, that's how they make you kind of fit into their standards. If you do this as a child to 7 year old, she will never dare to do anything when she's 17 or 27 or anything above that is where they come from. Muskan, has there been such instances with you? I mean, not just regarding clothes or anything like that, where your appearance has been like sort of monitored?
So like I don't remember anything of this sort, but like you guys said that, being in an accident and everything, what I'm wearing. So like I also used to have the same thoughts,
Why is
like
this so
whenever
common? This is so funny.
whenever I used to go out with my friends, like to far places, I would tell them, dude, if we get into an accident and if I don't survive, just let my parents know I was a good child. I never did anything wrong. It was just this one time I've come out, and this is where I.
Yeah, I mean, the worst you could have been doing is wearing a knee-length dress, or yeah, I mean, not. I mean, it's not even something that is actually wrong or problematic, but yeah, just getting caught in wearing, I don't know, pants or whatever.
Like, my problem is that you associate these things with a woman's character. But my problem is that it starts at a very like small level at our homes.
Exactly, that's what I was coming to. That so many times they say, "Ari, someone's coming home. Don't wear a sleeveless top. Don't wear shorts, or even just don't wear simple like house stuff." I remember my mom was never ever ever allowed to wear anything other than saris. Like she had to work in like whatever. I mean, she was going to work and she was not allowed to work after she got married. After that, whatever she did in the house, be it cooking, cleaning, sleeping, everything had to be done in a sari, because I mean, and it was said also in such a way that, oh my god, no man, you are the goddess of this house. How can you wear nighties and things like that? You should always be dressed well, which is bullshit. That makes like absolutely no sense. So she had to always figure doing each and every chore while wearing a sari, to the extent I think now she's only comfortable in saris. I am trying to make
Yeah.
that go away in a way that I'm like, okay, you wear saris whenever, wherever you want, but when you're home, it is your right to wear comfortable clothes. When you sleep, your body needs that breathing space. Don't suffocate it. Even small things like this is so ingrained in people's head. I remember even the way women are shamed when they say that, oh, I just went down and got the milk or some other dhania or whatever stuff like that, wearing a nightie. Oh my God, how could you just step wearing a nightie? But at the
Yeah,
same,
women are considered to be very like out of character. They're considered to
yeah,
be like, you know, like, oh, you're someone who's just lazy. And as a woman, you're supposed to be proper all the time. Women do not have the option to just be themselves. They always have to present themselves as a certain way, like how the society wants you to appear. You always have to, fulfill that criteria. You always have to fit in those boxes. Otherwise, you're very out of character.
yeah, I mean, and even the way the people, they take dupattas over the nightie, but if men are roaming in boxers, it's fine. It's just
Yeah.
that's just how the way it is. The policing when it comes to dressing, it's you can't even imagine the way it's so different for men and women.
You
Coming,
know,
yeah,
I also feel that our mothers are the part of the problem
yeah, yeah.
here, because I have seen my mother, like, morally policing one of my cousin's wife. So these people stay alone, like without, like stay in a nuclear family. So they are just two people with their daughter. So, my hobby actually. So after, like, doing all her work in the morning and after bathing and everything, she would again wear a gown or something. So my mother would be like, you should not be wearing a gown. You should be properly dressed after you're done with all your work. And I'm like, how does it matter? She's gonna be alone anyway.
Yeah, I think this is a big problem as well. There is so much internalized misogyny amongst women
Yeah.
that they will bring each other down, and it's so sad because I feel like to be a part of this patriarchal system, you have to adhere to this. Otherwise, how will you succeed in the system? Otherwise, how will you be seen as a woman of character? If you don't end up doing all these things, there's so much internalized misogyny all over the place. We all have it in us, we have it all around us, and it's just so sad that women also end up policing each other more so than men sometimes, to be honest.
Sometimes, yeah, that can happen. That if you are brought up in that scenario where you think your entire value as a woman lies in the way you are seen by other people, that doesn't matter whether you are
Exactly.
comfortable, not comfortable, what, even if your parents are okay, your in-laws are okay, whoever, but if it's not okay in the eyes of the society or whoever is important, it's just no. This is not how you should be presenting yourself. Yeah, and also that comes to the point of also policing the way you present yourself on social media. I'm like, both of you also have had issues with that. Yeah, I mean, not allowed to hide your last scene. Like, first of all, wow, I think parents today are learning the ropes of technology to the level of being like, no, you have to video call, no, you have to show your last scene, and things like that. How do you guys go about navigating this?
So, I'll tell you one thing. It's been since 2 years, I'm not allowed to do that, hide my last scene. So, while in Bombay, so I sometimes would have night shifts, like night shoots. So we would have shift timing like 7 to 7 from evening to the morning. So obviously, like being a production person, you always have to be on your phone, like texting other production people, or just updating everything on the group and all those things. But for me it was a bit difficult, so I would turn off my internet and then type a message, then turn it on, and then have it sent. Or else sometimes I would have to if, let's say, if I'm working till 12 at night, and if I was online on my WhatsApp, I would put an alarm for, like, let's say 5 a.m. or 5:30, just so that I can switch my last scene on, and my last scene is of the morning rather than night.
Oh my god.
So, like, just 2 days back, I hid my last scene because I wanted to ignore this person who was continuously texting me. So I had to do it. But then in the evening, my dad was like, "Ki, you can hit your last scene. And if you keep doing that, this is the last time I'm telling you, I'll take your phone away, and you would never use your phone again, and this and that, and I know that you were online till late at night." And I'm like, dude, I don't really need only WhatsApp to be online.
This has reminded me of this one story, or this one incident. In fact, like when I was in college, I think when I was in my first year of college, I also had WhatsApp in my last scene on. And I remember my father used to check my last scene. And then he used to call me up and say, "Why were you up till so late?" Multiple times. This one time, I think I was up till like a little later than, like, what they consider to be like okay or whatever. And the next morning, my father called me and he was like, "Till what time were you up?" And I was like, "Till this time." And then he's like, "No, it's showing different for me on my phone." And I was like, "How is that even possible?" And then he was like, "No, it is like that only, this, that." And then I remembered at that time they were traveling. They were on a vacation in Bangkok. And then I was like, there is a time difference, right? Which is why you are seeing a different time. And then he was like, "Yeah, okay, fine." But before that, only he had said such terrible things to me. Like, "No, how can you, like, how are you lying to me? Why were you up till so late? This, that." I was so scared. I was like, what have I done wrong?
I
मतलब
know.
इतना मैंने क्या बुरा कर दिया for him to like say all of this to me? And after that, I was like, I am not turning on my last scene. Since that day, my last scene has never been on, and it will never be. I remember discussing this with my therapist, and she was like, maybe you can start doing it by turning off your last scene. Okay, because let's see how it helps you. And I remember doing it was so hard for me because I was like, how can I, like, is it even possible? Can I turn it off? Will it be okay? And then I did it, and then it was fine. Basically.
I
But
think,
it was so not okay.
yeah, a way to maybe, I don't know, maybe if that works, is saying that you turn your last scene off, because if you don't do that and your manager or your colleagues or anyone sees that you're still online, they might just like give you work and make you stay up till late. I
Exactly.
Yeah.
think that is a way that people can navigate through. Muskan, that's what you use, I suppose.
And so I'll tell you, like, when we are talking about social media, I remember one more instance. So during COVID times, I did not had any work at all. So I was like online the whole time. So I would be like, switching between Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp. So I was on this meme spree on Facebook where I was sharing a lot of memes. So I happened to come across this meme, which I felt was not at all appropriate, like not at all inappropriate. It was fairly okay. So it was late at night. So this meme, so it had one girl standing in front of a field. It was like an agricultural field where two hippopotamus, I would say. I don't know what animal was it, but something of similar sort. So they were like, just climbing on each other. And I did not realize that how this can be inappropriate. So I posted it like just as fun. And in the morning at 6 a.m., my father comes into my room. He literally barges into my room and he's like, "Ki, where is your phone? What did you post last night?" I was like, "I don't know, like, I don't remember anything, like, I posted anything. Why is he so angry about, And then he was like, "You just open your phone and show me." And so I just like casually opened my phone, and there was this meme on Facebook which I posted, which was like totally fine according to me. But then they were like, "Yeah, I got a call from your uncle, and he's telling me that you are uploading inappropriate things on Facebook." And he made me delete that. Plus, he made me deactivate my Facebook account for next
God.
2 months. And he took my phone for the next 15 days.
Oh my god.
And I was like, really?
I mean, it's crazy. I also had somewhat, not to this extreme, but I had just used a picture of mine from graduation, with my friend, and it's very clear that we are holding the degree thing in our hands, and like we are in our college with our robes or whatever. I just uploaded it on my WhatsApp, and I remember my father being so angry, saying, "Who's this guy standing next to her? What will relatives think?" Even though we might know that it's a friend or whatever, not everyone else will. And I, at the beginning, I rubbished it, saying it's clear, it's very, very clear that what this picture is about. There's no need for me to remove it. He has gone and told my mom that, see, this is how all bad things start. Today she doesn't realize where she's going. I will have to take strict action against it. If she does not change the picture by today, I'm taking away her phone. And this phone is not something he bought for me. This is my own phone, which I won for doing by some contest or something, which he has no right over. But still, he thinks he has that agency to control anything and everything that I put up on social media. I know there are so many stories about people where you have to have two separate accounts, like one account where it's your friends and everyone else, and one account where you are forced to accept requests from your family. And
I do have it. Like, I have this fully anonymous account which nobody knows about except for three, four friends of mine. And I have this account where I was forced to accept my brother's request so that he can check on me. So, yeah, I totally get that.
Everyone, all my family members are blocked from Instagram because, again, if they see me post wearing the kind of clothes I wear, they'll lose it. So,
I mean, and this doesn't end to people think that, okay, if you're in college or something, once you start working, it will be fine. No, but once you start working, whatever you're doing, the way Muskan said that even a picture with a celebrity, stuff like that is also not
yeah.
okay. And it is also to the level that, okay, my cousin, she got married outside the religion. So now the whole family has kind of fabricated a story where they said that no, this guy doesn't use social media. He's not even in the country. He just is so busy. He came, he married, and just took her away. So now neither of them are allowed to post pictures about each other, tag each other. None of that is allowed, so that the no family can see who is he or what has happened. So
My
even
God.
after you are married, you have to go through shit and
Yeah, this never
yeah.
stops. I think until and unless you draw your boundaries and you stand your ground. If you think that acha ek bar once you enter college this will end, or once you start working this will end, or once you get a job it will end, once you get married it will end, it won't. If people like this are around you, then it's not going to change. There's something that you have to do about it.
I think like as
uh,
a choice, you have to figure that what is it that will bring you peace in a way that affects you in the least possible way. If you think
yeah,
like you, Sulekha, you can just talk about certain things and your family, like okay, even if they fight or whatever, but at the end of the day, they do understand. If that's a path that you can take, fine. But
yeah,
for someone like Muskaan or even like my cousin, at this point, I think they're just happy that there is a space that they're still allowed to work or they're still allowed to just
yeah.
live a life going about. I'm so yeah, I know. And then you're like, you know what? If I just have this figured, I'll just move on to the next. It's okay if I don't have to like have constant fights with you. I have too much else to figure in life. I don't want to waste my energy. Or like my cousin is like really happy now that at least she got to marry. She's like, okay, and
Yeah,
I want, even if I upload pics, I just make a closed list or whatever that is, and or just not upload. I
yeah.
don't care about this as far as
Yeah, exactly.
the
These are
thing.
small, small ways where you like figure out, okay, okay, if I can't win the bigger battle, it's fine. Let me like, you know, work it around and make it work for myself. Like do something to make it work for myself. I agree with that.
Yeah, and so
Yeah.
it just comes to okay, what is it that is really important for you?
Important.
And for
Yeah.
that, if you have to tweak a little bit of the other things,
So I used to have these conversations with my roommates while in Bombay, like where they would tell me, like, dude, it's totally not okay that, your parents are constantly video calling you and asking you about your whereabouts. And I'm like, bro, I have like really big fights, like big battles to fight for. आगे जाके. So it's okay. I don't want to fight this one. I would rather wait and fight for the other one,
exactly.
the bigger one.
Exactly.
So I completely understand. Like,
I remember I had gone for a concert. I mean, that was like one of the biggest things I've ever wanted to do. I mean, that particular band. And I had told my mother, I mean, at that point I was in college and like I was not earning at all. So she was the one who did give me the money for the ticket. And I mean, I'm very like that way to whatever extent is possible. I do tell her things and I mostly don't do anything like very scandalous or as such. So I told her I just want to go for this concert, and I obviously had to tell my father as well. And he had told me that okay, whatever. I had to lie that I'm going to my friend's house and like just have a dinner and a sleepover and combine. This is I'm in degree college, like I'm going to graduate. I'm that old. And even at that point, he was like, okay, I will call you in between. You are not supposed to be outside anywhere at all. I said, but what about if that family decides to go out and have a dinner? What am I supposed to say? That no, you guys go have dinner. I will stay alone in your house. No, like that
Yeah.
also was like, no, I don't care about it. You're not supposed to be outside anywhere. Through the entire concert, I have just had the phone in front of my face, and my friends are just like, who is this crazy woman? Like, they are thinking that I am this social media crazy person who just wants to record videos or upload or whatever that is. Meanwhile, I'm only just standing there in fear that I don't know when my dad is going to call. How am I going to answer this phone? Of course, I mean, you're in the middle of a concert and I was right at the front. There is no way that I can just leave. I was so scared throughout the entire night. He didn't end up calling. I don't know what he probably forgot or he got caught up in something else. But that whole night was somewhere so fearful for me. Kind of
It ruins your experience
yes,
basically.
very, very much did. And also for when people don't understand where you're coming from, I was not I don't even think I have a single video or whatever of that concert. I was only wanting to figure how to manage this call. A lot of people get irritated. Oh, what if you don't call? Just don't answer. Just say you were busy. Say your battery diet, whatever, just make up these things. But a lot of people don't understand the kind of consequences we have if we try to overstep these boundaries that are set by
Yeah,
parents.
and this is reminding me of one incident that happened with me when I was in college. It was first year of college and I wasn't allowed to stay out till late, and wasn't very late also. It was like 9, 10, and I was with my cousin, my older cousin, who my parents know very well. She had come to, to the place where I was like studying, and she was like, "Yeah, let's catch up or whatever." We were having dinner. It was 9:30 or 10 o'clock or something. My father called me up and he was like, "Where are you? Why aren't you back in your PG yet?" And I was like, "But I am with my cousin, with her. Like, do you not trust her? It'll be fine only. I'll reach home in time." And then he cut the call. He called up my cousin and started scolding her. And he was like, "No, this is not allowed for her. We haven't allowed her to stay out till late. How dare you do this? Ask her to leave right now. Go and drop her back." It was so embarrassing for me. And it became like a whole thing because at that time my mother was okay with me doing this. And my father started shouting at her also. He was like,
Yeah.
"How dare you be okay with something like this? How dare you allow her?" It became a whole thing. And then while I was going back in the auto to my PG, first of all my cousin was so stressed because her
Yeah.
father also started calling her up, and he was also like, "Why are you out? Why did you call her?" And I was like, "Oh my god, like for such a small thing they made such a big deal out of it." And now it has become a whole thing where he kept calling me, and he was like, "How dare you?" And this, that. And then at that time I was on a call with my cousin, and I just remember not picking up his calls because he was so angry. And he was like, how can you do this? And I don't remember what happened after that. Uh, but yeah, this incident I very well remember that I was out with a cousin.
I mean, yeah,
And
if even not family, there is no other way to even imagine this being okay. I mean, someone would think that, okay, if I'm with just the same person that I have grown up around, if this is not okay and safe enough, in a what situation? No colleague,
yeah,
no friend, no nothing
the
is
level of
fine.
control, exactly the level of control that they want to assert. They think that just by knowing that this person, like I am in my PG right now, I am safe. It's just like their insecurities, their fear, which they constantly try to put on us. And
In many many ways, like you both of y'all are mentioned about how you can't lock your rooms,
oh
uh,
yeah,
and first of all, to even have a room to yourself, that itself, I think a lot of people in this situation, they're like, no, why does any girl need a room to herself? It's better to always have someone around her, like let her share the room. Or even like when you're talking, I know a lot of people while talking about this are like, no, we cannot talk in the house, which includes myself, because family members can enter anytime because you're not allowed to lock the room. They will
yeah,
listen to whatever you are talking, whoever you're talking. There will be questions. And it's just, it's almost like living in some kind of an open jail within your own house as to what you
yeah.
can do, what you cannot do. And as you had mentioned, Muskan, that you were not allowed to join the gym as well. What was the reason behind that?
Because there are a lot of guys in the gym. And I don't know what's the deal with my parents. I feel like, they think that boys wake up just to hit on their daughter.
Oh,
Like that's I'm like, shut up.
so, gym can also. I mean, I'm not saying that's the way to go about it, but are there timings for women or anything as such?
So it was anytime fitness.
Hmm.
So anytime fitness as in, so the gym was open all the time.
So, as per your convenience, you can whenever
Can
just.
exactly go. But so my work timings were as such that, like, if I had to go, I had to go at nights because obviously in the morning I couldn't make it.
Hmm.
So my parents were first of all not okay with that. Plus, they were not okay with boys being around in the gym, even the trainers. Like, so when I was in my own city, if I wanted to join a gym, I would have to go with my brother.
Oh. And do you have to video call from the gym as well that you're with a female trainer,
And bro,
not a male trainer?
So they were okay with me working with guys, but the only thing they were not okay with is that I should not be in contact with anyone after work.
Oh,
Like I should not be talking with anybody after work or while I was at home.
and the biggest fear came true when the investigator found exactly that.
Exactly.
It's really scary, and I can't even imagine like having a personal investigator.
I know.
I honestly, it was really traumatic for me because right now, also it's been 4 months, and right now also, whenever, even when I'm at a mall, I would keep looking back, like like if somebody's not
Hmm.
following me all the time, or if somebody's not like taking pictures or videos of me. Like I remember, I went to this food joint, so I was sitting and having my food alone there, and I was just looking at other people. If somebody's looking at me having my food,
Hmm.
so it's really traumatic. Like, I also shared it with my brother. Like, obviously, he was also involved in this whole situation. So I also shared it with my brother, and he was like, you guys, your generation, you have just started this whole topic, like, trauma kya hi hota hai?
Oh,
What is this trauma? Like, it's just uh, a new word that you guys have learned, and you just use it wherever you feel convenient. I'm like, are you like for real?
how old is he?
He's 30.
Yeah, I mean, I think it also depends on the kind of influences you had while growing up. Maybe he was in that kind of a scenario where there was barely any conversation about mental health and the impact of all of that on life.
He himself is clinically depressed.
Hmm.
Like he has like therapies going on. So he's suffering from bipolar disorder.
Oh,
So
hmm.
I like he's the one person that I want him to understand at least, but he's also not supportive enough of anything. Like I knew that I was somewhere getting depressed, like while going through all these things. So I asked him, like, let's go to your therapist because I really want to consult somebody right now because I'm not doing okay. So while we were sitting at the therapist's office, while I was talking to her, he just started recording the conversation. And then I called him out on that. I was like, how can you do this? Like, I'm not a therapist. It is supposed to be a safe space for me.
Hmm.
And you cannot only just, like, record everything. But he wanted to record it just to send it to my parents.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so obviously I stopped him from doing that. And apart from that, the therapist, she gave me some meds because she also figured out that I was not doing so well. And my brother was like, "Hey, listen, let's not take those meds because, once you start taking the meds, you will be dependent on them."
Hmm, that's another
Which,
myth as well that's out there.
exactly. So, like, since that day, like, it's like, I don't know, like, if I should go to a therapist because being in the city, this is a very small city, and there are only like two, three therapists who are good enough, and all of them knows my brother.
Yeah.
So I feel like, our therapist also, like, safe. Like, what if they tell my brother that I'm consulting them or,
Hmm.
anything?
That's with so many like in general in health as well that even that happens with women when they go to gynecologists.
So, I'll tell you when I was, I guess, 19, my bhabhi,
Hmm.
she must have taken this pregnancy test and she threw the kit in the washroom ka dustbin. Okay, so my mother saw it, like she might have not informed my mother. So I was taking my afternoon nap at that time. My mother came into my room and she woke me up and she was like, what is wrong with you? What did you do? And I'm like, what did I do? What are you talking about? At least give me a backstory of it. And she was like, I found this in the washroom. I was like, dude, why do you think that in this controlling environment I would dare to do anything and that too in my own bathroom?
Yeah, I mean, you can't be that absent-minded. If you have
Yeah.
actually tried doing something like this, it's 100% that you would never throw that in your own bathroom.
Yeah, I think if anything, honestly, if having strict parents really teaches you to be very, like wary of all of these things. And I feel like people who have strict parents are a little bit more organized, and they think of consequences
Yes.
way more than other people. So you will always have a list of like a plan B or a plan C. If this doesn't work out, I have this. So you're so much more cautious. Like you will never.
Absolutely. Like a lot of my friends, they don't understand why I have backup plans, why I overthink, why I always have a lot of excuses or situations or anything just ready, at the back of my mind that if something goes wrong, because a lot of things 100% have gone wrong with me many, many of the times. And it's not like I can just brush things off. At that moment, I need to be ready with whatever that is that will save me so that I can continue living a life that is what the way I want it to be. That's another very strange thing, that it's not necessary that you're always rebelling to do something which is seen as just having fun or doing something wrong. Like we just spoke about going to a doctor, or even the way we spoke earlier, that Sulekha, that in your job you had to go to a lot of places which are not that cool or seen as that safe, but it's just the way that your job is, and you have to lie to just do those things as well, which like, you are
Yeah.
not running around on the beach in a bikini or something. Not saying that that is wrong at all, but to even
Mm-hmm.
think that to live like a life that I am only just working, I just want treatment, even for something as normal and as regular as that, you have to plan so much, let alone something as going for a party or a trip or anything like that.
Exactly. It's like, it's not like my parents are stopping me from going, but it's just that I have to constantly be on guard and be like, oh,
Hmm.
I can't tell them exactly, oh, that this is the kind of hotel I lived in, or, this is what I did. Like, I have to tell them, no, I lived in a very nice hotel, which is true also. We end up living in nice hotels, but their expectation or idea of a nice hotel is also very different, you know, like in
Yeah.
that sense. So it's just so hard to even convince them. And then the problem becomes that when I come across these opportunities, just because I feel like it'll be so hard for me to explain it to my parents, I end up letting go certain opportunities. I think this
Yeah.
has been a big part of my career, my profession, where I have let go of opportunities, where I'm not able to see certain things as they are, where I'm not able to assign value to certain things, simply because I feel like I will never be able to explain this to my parents. So does it even hold any value in the first place then? This has been such a important lesson for me, which I'm trying to get over now. Like I'm trying to get over this kind of thinking. So this has been like a learning lesson for me. But yeah, it has been very hard for me to give value to my job because of all these reasons, and understand that my job also holds a certain value, that I'm not doing something that's useless.
Yeah, to first of all to convince yourself as well that okay, all this trouble that I'm taking, is it worth it in the
Oh
end?
god, yeah.
All the
Yeah.
time I'm just trying to convince them, I'm trying to ensure that they think that everything's fine. And it also prevents you from sharing things when things actually might not be okay. Maybe you really are scared to visit a place, or maybe you do think that this place might be slightly sketchy, and I want to inform them about my whereabouts so that I feel safer. But you can't do that because you already have ensured them that everything's fine and everything's okay. So
And you're scared also that if you tell them, they might stop you, or if something goes wrong. What my biggest fear is that if something goes wrong, it's my responsibility. Then how will I answer? Then whatever they've been saying will come true. Then ultimately, that, oh, we asked you to not go to this place, we told you not to do this, and then that will come true.
yeah,
Basically,
and the worst
that's also a
nightmare.
big fear. Yeah,
Exactly. And the worst nightmare of just them finding us wearing shorts, then stuck in a situation where
like
that
that, exactly.
is where all of it would just come down to. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like a circle that just keeps going on and on. Yeah, and we just need to figure how, just the way we have been for all our lives, and just see how, just the way we are right now, sharing and finding some more solutions, understanding that things like this happen to so many others out there, even though it might feel quite lonely and alienating. There are many others out there who are going through similar situations, and that's exactly what we're trying to bring out through this podcast. So I think with that we have spoken a lot. So thank you so much, Sulekha and Muskaan, for coming on to the show today. It was quite, I would say, an honest conversation as to all our feelings and so many things that we go through. I hope this was a good experience for y'all. Thank you again for coming and sharing so much about yourself, opening up about your personal incidents. Anything that you would like to just share about how was it for you, or anything that you're hoping and expecting?
I just have one thing to say, like for anybody who's listening, like any women who's going through the same situation like us, I would just like to tell them that it's okay if you're going through it. Just don't give up, and it's just know that your fight is a bit difficult than others, but it's gonna be totally worth it. You just don't need to give up. Like just keep fighting for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Even though our journey seems so much more difficult, if you don't see this kind of representation in a lot of places, you don't find a lot of friends who relate to your situation. But there are still many, many out there like us who are trying to figure out our lives. And somewhere with time, you learn how to navigate through things, and things will get better for you. That's, yeah, exactly what we are trying to also figure ourselves. We hope the situation also improves for you, Muskan. I hope you can get to come back to Mumbai.
It definitely will. Like, I'm a very optimistic person like that. And I know I've fought before and I'm gonna fight this one too. And also, I would really like to thank you for starting this whole initiative and, like, bringing women to, like, giving women this platform to speak about their journeys and, like, make them feel okay with the whole thing they are going through, because like knowing that okay, there are other people going through the similar things and they are able to get out of it, then maybe I will get out of it too. So that's a relief.
I think I'll also just add to what Muskan said. And I mean, anyone who's listening to this, you just have to believe that your life is yours and that nobody else can control it, or nobody, even though people around you tell you, especially for women, that you're supposed to live a certain way, or that if you're living a certain way that they are not okay with, it's wrong. I mean, that is bullshit. That is not true. You get to decide the kind of life you want to lead. You get to decide how you want to live, and there is absolutely nothing wrong with it. And even though there is always this fear that things might go wrong, but if you actually keep trying, things might end up going, well for you also. Like things might end up turning the way you would want them to be. And that is the best experience to have. And you have one life to live. You better live it like the way you want to, and not be bound by all of these things. And as Muskan said, that we're all going through certain things. The gravity for some people is much more, the intensity for some people is much more, but then at the end of the day, we are all in this together. And you know you A has started this podcast primarily for this reason only, to bring that community together and to make people understand that these are very real, true experiences, and that this happens with so many of us, and that we'll all get through this. So yeah. And of course, thank you for starting this entire thing and bringing people together through this.
I really hope that also helps others, whoever is listening to this. This has been such a lovely conversation with both of you all, Sulekha and Muskan. Thank you so much for coming onto the show. I hope everyone out there who's listening to this also gets some kind of hope and inspiration to understand that you can also try and figure out your life with all the limitations that you have in your own timeline, with your own plan. So, all the best to everyone out there who is living through something like this. That's it for now. See you next time.
To all the listeners out there, if you have any such not allowed stories to share, and for all future episode updates, please do follow Not Allowed on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Our episodes are also available on Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and other streaming apps. We also have a special mental health discussion with a therapist, which will be released separately. So don't forget to check that out. If you have any other comments or suggestions, like, we'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm your host A, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.